This is about belief. And when belief goes, there's nothing to fix it with. October 1929. Wall Street is unraveling, quietly at first. And behind the counter of a bank on Broad Street, a junior teller begins to notice the cracks. The marble stays cool no matter what happens outside. My name is Edward Whittaker, Eddie to everyone but Mr. Pemberton, and I'm 22 years old. I've been a junior teller at First National Bank on Broad Street for 2 years, 3 months, and 16 days. Long enough to know the rhythms of this place. Long enough to know the weight of $1,000 withdrawal versus 100. Long enough to recognize the regulars by their footsteps before they reach my window. Long enough to know when something's wrong. And something is wrong. I've been telling myself that all morning, pressing my palm flat against the counter between customers, feeling that stone cold seep into my skin. It's the one constant in a day that won't settle. The marble was quarried in Vermont, Mr. Pemberton told me when I started here. Dorset marble, he said. Same stone they used for the New York Public Library. He said it like it mattered. Like permanence could be inherited from rock. Like solidity could be purchased and installed and trusted to hold. The clock above the vault reads 11:47, October 28th, 1929. Monday morning, though it feels like we've been here for days already. I'm counting out Mrs. Aldrich's withdrawal, 50s, 20s, 10s, and my hands are steady even though hers aren't. She's asked for $300 in cash. Not enough to raise immediate flags, but enough that I notice. Mrs. Aldrich usually withdraws $50 every other Wednesday. She has for the 18 months I've been tracking her account. She's a creature of habit, precise as clockwork, and clockwork doesn't suddenly ask for 6 times its usual amount on a Monday. She's wearing gloves despite the unseasonable warmth. Kid leather, cream-colored, with pearl buttons at the wrists. When I slide the bills across the marble, 10/50s, 10/20s, 10/10s, counted twice as regulations require, she doesn't count them. Just folds them once, quick and neat, and tucks them into her handbag with the clasp already open. Thank you, Edward. She's never used my first name before. In 18 months of every other Wednesday transactions, I've been young man, or occasionally nothing at all, just a nod and a murmured thanks. You're welcome, Mrs. Aldrich. Will there be anything else? No, that's all. But she doesn't move. She stands there with her handbag clutched in both gloved hands, and for a moment I think she's going to say something else. Warn me, maybe. Confide something. Her mouth opens slightly, then closes. She nods once, sharp, decisive, and turns away. I watch her walk toward the door, past the potted palms Mr. Morrison waters every morning at 8:15, past the brass rail that separates the banking floor from the entrance vestibule, past the portrait of Mr. Cornelius Whitmore, founder, whose painted eyes have watched over transactions since 1847. She doesn't look back. Through the tall windows, 12 feet high, arched at the top, with iron scrollwork that cost more than my annual salary, I can see Broad Street. More people than usual for a Monday. Much more. They're not moving with the usual purpose of Monday morning in the financial district, not striding toward offices with newspapers tucked under arms and coffee cooling in paper cups. They're gathering. Clustering in small groups on the sidewalk, spilling into the street, forcing the automobiles to honk and swerve. Some are reading newspapers. Some are just standing there, staring at the buildings like the facades might suddenly reveal answers. Next, please. My voice sounds normal. That surprises me. It surprises me that I can produce normal sounds when everything feels like it's tilting, like the marble floor might be on a gentle slope I never noticed before. The next customer is Mr. Harrison. I know him by sight but not by name. I had to check his account card to confirm. He comes in once a month, always on the 15th, always deposits exactly $200 in cash. A school teacher, I think, or maybe a bookkeeper. Someone who deals in neat numbers and regular rhythms. Today is the 28th. I'd like to make a withdrawal, he says. His collar is frayed at the edge. I notice these things. You notice these things when you spend 8 hours a day looking at people across a marble counter, when your job is to assess and evaluate and determine whether the person in front of you is trustworthy, solvent, legitimate. Of course, sir. How much would you like to withdraw? All of it. I pause. My hand, reaching for the withdrawal slip, stops in midair for just a fraction of a second. Your entire balance, sir? Yes. May I ask the reason for the closure? It's protocol. We're supposed to ask. The bank wants to know why accounts close, wants to track patterns, wants to prevent problems before they metastasize. Usually people give innocuous answers. Moving to another city, consolidating accounts, buying a house. Usually the question is a formality. Mr. Harrison looks at me like I've asked him to explain why water is wet. Have you looked outside? He says quietly. Have you read a newspaper? Yes, sir. Then you know. I do know. I've read about Thursday. October 24th. Black Thursday. They're already calling it, though the week isn't even over. 12 million shares traded. Ticker tape running hours behind. Crowds gathering outside the exchange, so many that they had to bring in extra police. Bankers meeting at Morgan's, injecting capital, buying stocks, trying to stem the hemorrhaging with optimism and money. Friday was better. The bankers said soothing things. Mr. Pemberton gathered us in the conference room on the mezzanine at 8:30 in the morning and told us the fundamentals were sound. He used that exact word, fundamentals. Like the market was a building with good bones, like structure could be trusted if you just looked past the cosmetic damage. Saturday the papers said the worst was over. Sunday I couldn't sleep. I'll need to get a manager's approval for a full account closure, Mr. Harrison. It'll just be a moment. He nods. His jaw is tight. His hands rest on the marble, fingers spread wide like he's trying to hold on to something solid. I notice he's not wearing a wedding ring. I notice the ink stains on his right middle finger. I notice everything, because noticing is what keeps me from thinking. The line behind Mr. Harrison stretches longer than it should. Not to the door yet, but close. 15 people, maybe 20. These are regulars mostly, people I've helped dozens of times before. I know their account numbers by heart, know which ones tip at Christmas, know whose signatures tilt left, know who always asks about the weather, and who wants silence and efficiency. But today they won't meet my eyes. They approach my window like penitents at confession, like they're asking for something shameful. Mrs. Chen is fourth in line. She usually comes in with her husband on Mondays to deposit weekend receipts from their grocery. Today she's alone, and her face is drawn tight with something that looks like fear. Behind me, I hear Hutchinson processing a transaction. James Hutchinson, senior teller, 12 years at this counter, a man who can count a mixed stack of bills faster than anyone I've ever seen. His voice carries across the banking floor. Too loud, too bright, too aggressively cheerful. Beautiful day, isn't it, Mrs. Patterson? Yes, unseasonably warm for October. I was just saying to Eddie this morning, this weather makes you grateful to be alive, doesn't it? Mrs. Patterson makes a non-committal sound. I don't turn around, but I can picture Hutchinson's face, smile wide and rigid, eyes doing calculations that have nothing to do with the deposit he's processing. The pneumatic tube system hisses. A brass canister arrives at my station with a soft settling into its cradle. I love these tubes, loved them from my first day, loved the Victorian ingenuity of it, the way messages and paperwork shoot through copper pipes in the walls like blood through arteries. The building breathing, alive, connected. I open the canister. Paperwork for a commercial account. Bronstein and Sons, importers. The deposit slip is for $800, but the handwriting is shakier than usual. Numbers corrected and recorrected. One figure crossed out so hard, the pen nearly tore through the paper. Someone upstairs is making mistakes. Someone upstairs is rattled. I process the deposit mechanically. Check the account number against the ledger. Third drawer, middle section, B through D. Verify the amount. Count the cash that came down in the canister. Mixed bills, mostly small denominations, the kind of money that comes from daily sales. Sign my initials in the confirmation box. EW. Send the canister back with the receipt and a soft whoosh of air through copper pipes. The marble stays cool beneath my palm. Mr. Pemberton emerges from his office on the mezzanine at exactly noon. I know it's exactly noon because I've been watching the clock, watching the minute hand crawl toward 12 like it's moving through honey. Time has weight today. It has texture. He doesn't come down the stairs. He stands at the railing, walnut, polished to a mirror shine, with brass fittings that Morrison cleans every evening at 6:15, and scans the banking floor. His collar is perfect. His tie pin catches light from the chandeliers, crystal, installed in 1903, converted from gas to electricity in 1908. His suit is pressed with creases sharp enough to cut paper. But something in his posture is wrong. I've worked under Mr. Pemberton for 2 years, 3 months, and 16 days. I've learned to read him the way you learn to read weather, the subtle signs that indicate storms brewing. The way he holds his shoulders usually broadcasts confidence, authority, the unshakable certainty of a man who has steered this bank through the post-war recession and the Florida land bust and a dozen smaller crises. Today he's gripping the brass rail too tight. His knuckles are white. He's scanning the floor not like a captain surveying his ship, but like a general assessing casualties. Our eyes meet for a moment. He doesn't nod, doesn't acknowledge me, just keeps scanning. But in that brief connection, I see something that makes my stomach clench. Fear. Not panic, not yet, but fear dressed up in a good suit and pretending to be composure. He turns and walks back into his office. The door closes with a soft, final click that I hear even over the murmur of conversations, even over the rustle of papers, even over the tick, tick, tick of the clock that suddenly seems very loud. Sir? Mr. Harrison is still waiting. I've been standing here with my hand on the marble, staring at the mezzanine, while he waits for me to get approval for his withdrawal. I'm sorry. Let me get that manager approval for you. I step away from the counter. The banking floor is elegant in that way that old money prefers, understated, solid, built to last centuries. The floor is marble checkerboard, black and white, each tile cut from single pieces of stone. The teller windows are mahogany with brass grills, the kind of construction that doesn't exist anymore, that costs too much and takes too long and doesn't maximize efficiency. But it looks permanent. It feels permanent. That's the point. I catch Hutchinson's eye as I cross toward the mezzanine stairs. He's already watching me, has been watching me, and in his face I see the same thing I saw in Pemberton's: knowledge, understanding. The silent communication of men who work in close quarters and don't need words. His look says, "It's starting." My look back says, "I know." The mezzanine stairs are marble too, with a brass rail that runs smooth and cool under my hand. 15 steps. I've counted them 1,000 times, climbing them to deliver paperwork or receive instructions, or, once, to be told I was getting a raise. $5 more per week, bringing me to 35. Enough to move to a better boarding house, maybe save a little more toward evening classes at City College. That was 6 months ago. It feels like a different world. Mr. Pemberton's office door is solid oak, with a frosted glass panel that reads, "Thomas Pemberton, Manager," in gold leaf letters that are flaking slightly at the edges. I knock twice. "Come." He's standing at his window again, hands clasped behind his back, looking down at Broad Street. From up here you can see more, the full scope of the crowd that's been gathering since mid-morning. It's bigger now, much bigger. Hundreds of people, maybe more, clustered in front of the exchange, in front of the other banks, filling the sidewalks and spilling into the street. "Full closure, sir. Mr. Harrison. Account number 7734. "How many today?" His voice is level, controlled. He doesn't turn around. 11, sir. That I've processed personally." "Hutchinson?" "I don't know, sir. 7 or 8, I think." Morrison reported 15 at the commercial window. The mathematics are simple. 33 closures minimum, and it's only noon. We typically process 5 or 6 closures in an entire week, usually people moving out of state or consolidating with other banks. 33 means something. 33 means the word is out, the fear is spreading, the invisible agreements that hold the system together are starting to fray. Mr. Pemberton finally turns to face me. Up close, I can see the strain in his face. He's 57 years old. I know because there was a small celebration last month. Cake in the conference room, awkward speeches. But today he looks older. The lines around his eyes are deeper. His color is slightly off, a grayish tinge beneath his careful tan. "What's the balance?" he asks. $417, sir. He signs the approval form without looking at it. His signature, usually a flourish of confidence, the kind of signature that says, "I am important and my time is valuable," is smaller today, tighter. He slides the form across his desk toward me. "Send him to Station 4 for the cash. And Eddie." I wait. In 2 years, 3 months, and 16 days, Mr. Pemberton has never called me Eddie. I am Edward in meetings, Mr. Whittaker when customers can hear, but never Eddie. "Sir?" Smile when you process these. Be pleasant. Be confident. We're still here, aren't we? We're still open. The bank is sound. "Yes, sir." Make sure they know that. Make sure everyone knows that. I take the form and leave. As I'm closing the door, I hear him pick up his telephone. His voice, muffled by oak and frosted glass. "Get me Thomas Lamont at Morgan's." "Yes, I'll hold." Same view of the banking floor. But it carries weight that mine doesn't. Station 4 is where the difficult transactions happen, where the large withdrawals are processed, where commercial accounts receive special handling. When I bring Mr. Harrison over, Hutchinson is already preparing stacks of bills. He's counted $417 into neat piles. 400s, 110, 15, 21s. Large denominations wherever possible, minimizing bulk, maximizing efficiency. Hutchinson is 41 years old, married with 3 children, living in Jackson Heights in a house he bought in 1922, when things were good and getting better. He wears a green eyeshade at work, old-fashioned even now, an affectation or maybe a superstition. And he can count mixed bills without looking at his hands, his fingers moving with the unconscious precision of a concert pianist. "Mr. Harrison," he says, $417. If you'd just sign here, please." Mr. Harrison signs the withdrawal slip. His handwriting is neat, careful, the script of a man who still believes in doing things properly, even when the world is ending. Hutchinson slides the cash across the marble. "Would you like an envelope, sir?" "Yes, please." Hutchinson provides a bank envelope, heavy cream paper with First National Bank printed in discreet letters across the front. Mr. Harrison places the cash inside carefully, folds the envelope once, and tucks it into his inside jacket pocket. He buttons the jacket. His hands are trembling slightly. "Thank you," he says. "Thank you for banking with First National, sir. We hope to see you again soon." It's the standard closing line, the thing we've been trained to say to every customer. Usually it's automatic, meaningless, just sounds to fill space. Today it sounds like a lie. Mr. Harrison leaves. Hutchinson and I stand there for a moment in the small space behind his window, not speaking. The vault door is visible from here. Steel, painted to look like wood paneling, designed to be unobtrusive, but unmistakable. It's open. I can see inside, can see the rows of safe deposit boxes on the left wall, the shelves of bundled bills on the right, the neat stacks of coin rolls, the organized chaos of wealth waiting to be distributed. It looks full, but I've been keeping track in my head the way I do, the way I can't help doing. We've processed more withdrawals in 4 hours than we typically handle in a week. The vault might look full, but full is relative. Full compared to what? To yesterday? To last week? To what we'll need if this continues? How much longer? I ask. Hutchinson adjusts his eye shade. It's a habitual gesture, something he does when he's thinking. Reserves? 3 days, maybe 4 if it stays at this rate. But it won't stay at this rate. It'll get worse. It'll get worse. We don't need to say the rest. We're both doing the same arithmetic, both watching the same patterns, both seeing the same future rushing toward us like a train. If closures continue at 33 per half day, that's 66 per day. At an average closure of $400, some higher, some lower, but 400 is a reasonable estimate. That's $26,000 per day walking out the door. The vault holds approximately $300,000 in cash reserves. Standard practice for a bank our size. Enough for normal operations, enough for the usual fluctuations of daily business. Not enough for panic. Through the tall windows, I watch the crowd on Broad Street continue to thicken. It's becoming something else now, transforming from a gathering into a presence. Not quite a mob. There's no violence, no shouting, no visible anger, but dense and purposeful in a way that makes my skin prickle. A policeman appears, one of the beat cops who usually patrols this area. Officer Donnelly, I think. I've seen him often enough, usually buying coffee at the cart on the corner. He's trying to direct people back to the sidewalks, making large, sweeping gestures with his arms. But nobody moves. Or rather, they move slightly, grudgingly, and then drift back as soon as he passes. An automobile honks, then another. The street is clogging with traffic, with cars trying to navigate around the clusters of people, with delivery trucks stuck and angry. The normal flow of commerce is breaking down. Next, please. I return to my station. The line hasn't shortened. If anything, it's longer. Mrs. Chen is at my window now, and her face makes my chest tight. She looks terrified. Good afternoon, Mrs. Chen. Eddie. Her accent is thick. She's been in America for 20 years, but some sounds never quite settle right. I need to take out money. Of course. How much would you like to withdraw? How much we have? I pull her account card from the drawer. The Chens maintain 2 accounts, a personal savings account and a business account for the grocery. The personal account has $1,700. The business account has nearly $4,000. You have $5,683 across both accounts, Mrs. Chen. Her hand goes to her mouth. It's a gesture of surprise, but not happy surprise. The surprise of seeing something valuable that you'd forgotten about and suddenly realizing it's at risk. I want half. No, I want 2,000. From the business. We need to keep some in bank, yes? To write checks? Yes, ma'am. For the business account, it's best to maintain a minimum balance for checks and operating expenses. 2,000 then, in cash. I process the withdrawal. It requires a manager's signature for anything over $500, which means another trip to the mezzanine, but I make it quick. Mr. Pemberton barely looks at the form before signing. When I return, Mrs. Chen is twisting her hands together, looking out the windows at the crowd. Is bad, yes? She asks when I hand her the cash. I should reassure her. I should say what Mr. Pemberton told me to say, that the bank is sound, that everything is fine, that this is just temporary panic over nothing. But looking at Mrs. Chen's face, at the genuine fear in her eyes, at this woman who came to America with nothing and built something through decades of 7-day weeks and careful saving, I can't lie. I don't know, Mrs. Chen. I honestly don't know. She nods. She appreciates honesty more than false comfort. You take care, Eddie. You're a good boy. She leaves, and I watch her navigate through the growing crowd in the lobby. The bank is getting full now. Not just the line at the teller windows, but people clustering near the entrance, people standing along the walls, People who seem to have come just to observe, to bear witness, to be present for whatever is happening. The pneumatic tubes have gone quiet. I notice it suddenly, the way you notice a sound has stopped only after its absence has accumulated weight. All morning the tubes have been hissing and thumping, canisters arriving with steady rhythm, the building's circulatory system pumping paperwork between floors. Deposits from the commercial desk, transfers from savings, interdepartmental memos, the constant flow of transaction and documentation. Now, nothing. The silence feels like a symptom, like the building itself is holding its breath. I glance at the clock. 12:47. Lunch should have started by now. We work in shifts. Half the tellers break from 12 to 1, the other half from 1 to 2. It's been this way for as long as I've worked here, a rhythm as reliable as the marble counter and the morning light through the eastern windows. But Mr. Pemberton hasn't given the signal. The floor stays fully staffed, all 6 teller windows occupied, Morrison at his post by the door, the commercial desk manned by both Fisher and Williams instead of the usual rotation. Nobody mentions it. We just keep working, keep smiling, keep counting, keep performing normalcy while the silence of the pneumatic tubes gets louder. Next, please. A man approaches my window. Young, maybe my age, wearing a suit that's nice but not expensive. The kind of suit a clerk wears, or a junior attorney, or someone aspiring to be taken seriously. His collar is starched but slightly crooked, and there's a small stain on his tie, coffee probably, from a hasty morning. I'd like to make a withdrawal. His voice is steady, but his eyes aren't. They keep darting to the windows, to the crowd outside, to the vault door, anywhere but my face. Of course, sir. Account number? He provides it. I pull the card. Savings account, opened 14 months ago, regular deposits every week. $60 per month, like clockwork. The balance is $843. How much would you like to withdraw? All of it. I don't ask why. I've stopped asking why. I'll need a manager's signature for closures. One moment, please. The trip to the mezzanine is becoming routine. Up 15 marble steps, knock on oak, present the form, receive the signature, return. Mr. Pemberton doesn't look up anymore, just signs. His signature is getting smaller with each iteration, tighter, more compressed. When I return, the young man is staring at the crowd outside. Is it true? He asks quietly. About Thursday? What have you heard, sir? That it's bad, that it's going to get worse, that the banks... He trails off, not wanting to say it. I can't speak to rumors, sir. I can tell you that First National remains sound and committed to serving our customers. The words taste like ash. They're true, technically, legally, literally true. But they're also meaningless. Soundness is relative. Commitment doesn't stop mathematics. I count out $843. 800s, 220s, 31s. I slide the cash across the marble. He counts it 3 times before tucking it into an envelope he's brought from home. A plain white envelope that says nothing about permanence or trust or institutional authority. Thank you, he says. Thank you for banking with First National. He leaves. The line doesn't get shorter. At 1:30, Mr. Chen arrives. He's older than his wife, maybe 60, with silver hair and hands that show decades of labor. He comes every Monday to deposit weekend receipts from the grocery, Saturday and Sunday sales, counted and sorted and bundled with rubber bands. The bills usually smell like produce and paper bags and the particular scent of small business. Today, he's not carrying a deposit bag. Eddie, he says, and smiles. It's a genuine smile, warm and kind, and it makes me want to weep. I hear my wife came in earlier. Yes, sir, about an hour ago. She is worried. You understand. We hear things, we see things. We don't know what to believe. I understand, sir. But I tell her, we cannot take everything out. We must show faith. If everyone takes everything, then what? Then nothing is left, yes? Then the fear wins. He places a deposit bag on the marble. It's smaller than usual, but still substantial. $417. Saturday and Sunday. People are buying more than usual. Rice, beans, canned goods. They are worried too. I process the deposit with something approaching gratitude. In a morning of withdrawals and closures and fear, this act of faith feels like cool water. I count the cash carefully, reverently almost. Mixed bills, mostly small denominations, still smelling of paper and produce and human hands exchanging value. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Thank you, Eddie. You are a good boy. Your parents, they should be proud. After he leaves, I sit there for a moment with my hands on the marble. The counter has warmed slightly where the afternoon sun hits it through the western windows. Even marble can't stay cool forever. Even stone is subject to change. At 4 o'clock, the closing bell rings at the New York Stock Exchange. We can't hear it from here. The exchange is 3 blocks away, but we feel it. There's a change in the air, a shift in pressure, like the moment before a thunderstorm when the atmosphere condenses and waits. Through the windows, I watch the crowd's behavior change. People start moving, flowing, rearranging themselves in patterns I can't quite interpret. Some leave, some stay, some press closer to the buildings, closer to the bank, closer to the solid stone and brass that represents safety and permanence, and the promise that numbers on paper mean something real. Mr. Pemberton appears on the mezzanine at 4:07. He doesn't need to call for attention. His presence is enough. The banking floor quiets. Conversations stop mid-sentence. Even the customers sense the moment and turn to look. Ladies and gentlemen. His voice carries beautifully in the marble and brass acoustics of the banking floor. It's a voice trained for this, cultivated for moments when authority must be projected without aggression. First National will remain open until 6 o'clock this evening to accommodate our valued customers. We appreciate your patience and continued confidence in this institution. There's a murmur, relief from some, calculation from others. An extra 2 hours means more time to withdraw, more time to secure, more time to grab what's yours before the vault runs dry. Or maybe I'm being cynical. Maybe people are genuinely relieved that the bank is going the extra mile, proving its commitment to service. Hutchinson catches my eye. His face says everything. 2 more hours. 2 more hours of this. Next, please. They come in a steady stream, not a rush, but an unending flow. Young and old, rich and poor, panicked and calm, but all wanting the same thing: cash. Physical currency, something they can hold and hide and hoard. A widow withdraws her husband's insurance money, $2,000 that was supposed to last her until her children could help. She cries silently as I count it out, tears running down her face while she maintains perfect composure otherwise. I want to tell her to keep it in the bank, that it's safer here, that cash can be stolen or burned or lost. But I don't, because maybe it isn't safer here. Maybe nowhere is safe. A businessman in an expensive suit withdraws $15,000 from a commercial account. It takes me 20 minutes to count it all, bundled hundreds that I have to retrieve from the vault in multiple trips. He doesn't explain, doesn't need to. His face is carved from stone, emotionless, a man doing calculations and acting on results. A young couple, newlyweds I think from the way they stand close together, withdraw their savings. $312. The man's hand shakes when he signs the withdrawal slip. The woman watches the crowd outside and bites her lip until it bleeds slightly. I process them all with steady hands and a pleasant voice. I smile. I maintain eye contact. I say, "Thank you for banking with First National," until the words lose all meaning and become just sounds, phonemes, air moving through vocal cords to produce socially required noise. The marble counter has gone warm where the afternoon sun streams through the windows. My palm no longer finds coldness there. Even stone surrenders eventually. By 5 o'clock, I've made 6 trips to the vault. Usually I make 2 or 3 in an entire day. The standard withdrawals are small enough to handle from my drawer, and we only access the vault for larger transactions or to replenish our stations at the end of the day. 6 trips means something. 6 trips means I'm processing withdrawals that exceed my drawer capacity. 6 trips means the mathematics are accelerating. The vault is a room behind the teller stations, accessible through a steel door that's disguised as wood paneling. Only tellers and managers have the key. Inside, it's smaller than people imagine, maybe 15 feet by 20, with safe deposit boxes lining one wall and cash storage on the other. There's a desk for counting, a ledger for recording every movement in and out, and a smell that's distinctive. Paper and metal and something else. Something that might be time, or might be anxiety. On my 6th trip, I meet Fisher coming out. He works the commercial window, handles the business accounts, the large transactions, the complicated transfers. He's carrying 4 bundled stacks of hundreds, $40,000 in his hands, casual as groceries. Big withdrawal? I ask. 3, actually. Word's out. The businesses are pulling reserves. How much is left? He glances back into the vault, then at me, then away. Enough. For now. But he doesn't sound convinced. And when I go inside to retrieve $1,200 from my current transaction, I see what he means. The shelves aren't empty, not even close, but they're less full than they were this morning. The neat stacks have gaps. The organized rows show absence. It's still a lot of money. Tens of thousands of dollars, maybe more than 100,000. Enough for days of normal operations. But these aren't normal operations. I count out my 1,200s, because the customer specified large denominations, and record it in the ledger. My handwriting looks strange to me, disconnected, like someone else is holding the pen. The vault ledger is a historical document, I realize. Someday someone might read these entries and try to understand what happened, try to trace the pattern of withdrawals, and see the exact moment when confidence broke and panic took over. If there's a someday, if there's someone to read it. At 5:20, a young woman approaches my window. She can't be more than 20, wearing a coat that's seen better days and a hat with a small feather that's slightly askew. Her eyes are red-rimmed, and she's trying very hard not to cry. I'd like to, she stops, swallows, tries again. I need to withdraw my savings. Of course, miss. Account number? She provides it with a voice that trembles. I pull the card. Savings account, opened 3 years ago, regular deposits of $5 to $10 every month. The kind of account that tells a story. A working girl, probably a secretary or shop clerk, saving carefully towards something important. The balance is $347.18. How much would you like to withdraw? All of it, please. I'm sorry, it's just, we're getting married next month, and we've been saving, and everyone says. She trails off, tears finally spilling over. I process the withdrawal quickly, efficiently, trying to minimize her distress through speed. 300s, 220s, 15, 2 ones, and 18 cents in coins. I count it twice, slide it across the marble, and provide an envelope without being asked. Congratulations on your engagement, miss. She looks up at me with eyes that are drowning. Is there even going to be a wedding? Is there going to be anything? I don't have an answer. I can't offer platitudes about everything being fine, about the fundamentals being sound, about this being temporary. Looking at her face, young and frightened, and on the verge of a future that suddenly seems uncertain, I can't lie. I hope so, I say quietly. I really hope so. She takes the money and leaves, and I watch her navigate through the crowded banking floor, through the press of bodies all seeking the same thing, all trying to grab security from stone and paper before it evaporates completely. The clock reads 5:23, 37 minutes left. By 5:30, I notice something strange. The line is thinning. Not disappearing. There are still people waiting, still customers at the windows, but the density has decreased. The banking floor is less crowded than it was an hour ago. The press of bodies has eased. The atmosphere has shifted from urgent to merely tense. At first, I think it's good news. Maybe the panic is subsiding. Maybe people are realizing that the bank is solid, that the withdrawals are being processed without issue, that there's no need to rush. Then I look outside. The crowd on Broad Street has grown, substantially. What was hundreds at noon is thousands now, a mass of humanity that fills the street completely, that stops traffic, that presses against the buildings like floodwater. They're not going home. They're not leaving. They're gathering for tomorrow, positioning themselves for the moment the doors open, preparing to be first in line when the real run begins. Because this wasn't the run. This was the warning. This was the careful, rational withdrawal of people who still believe in doing things properly, who still trust that the system will function if they follow the rules. Tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow will be everyone else, the ones who can't afford to be rational, who can't wait in polite lines, who know that money is finite and doors can close and banks can fail despite marble and brass and promises of permanence. Hutchinson is watching the crowd too. Our eyes meet across the banking floor, and in that glance we share an entire conversation. Do you see it? I see it. Can we handle it? I don't know. Neither do I. At 5:47, the pneumatic tubes suddenly come alive. A canister arrives at my station with a that makes me jump. Then another at Hutchinson Station. Then another at Station 3. The tubes start and, in a flurry of activity, making up for hours of silence with urgent compressed bursts. I open my canister. It's a memo from Mr. Pemberton, typed on bank letterhead, short and direct. All tellers. Maintain normal procedures until closing. Process all transactions in queue. Do not discuss vault status with customers. Tomorrow we open at standard hours. Remain confident. TP. I read it twice. The words are clear, the instructions specific, but there's something in the careful phrasing that tells me everything. Do not discuss vault status means the vault status is discussable, is significant, is something we might be tempted to share. Remain confident means confidence is currently in question. I fold the memo and tuck it into my vest pocket. 13 minutes until closing. Next, please. At 5:59, my last customer of the day approaches the window. He's elderly, 70 at least, maybe older, with gnarled hands and a face like weathered wood. He's wearing a suit that was expensive once, decades ago, now shiny at the elbows and frayed at the cuffs. His collar is held together with a pin instead of a proper button. "Son," he says, and his voice is rough with age and smoke and time. "I want to tell you something." "Yes, sir?" "I saw the panic of '93. I was a boy then, working in my father's shop. People running, banks closing, businesses failing. It was bad, real bad." He pauses, looks at me with eyes that have seen things I can't imagine. This is worse. I don't know what to say. The clock ticks toward 6. Morrison is moving toward the door, keys in hand, ready to lock up the moment the minute hand hits 12. In '93, the old man continues, it was about silver and gold and monetary policy. It was about things that could be fixed with the right decisions. This, he gestures vaguely at the windows, at the crowd outside, at the world. This is about belief, and when belief goes, son, there's nothing to fix it with. "Sir, is there a transaction you need to?" "No transaction. I came to make a deposit." He places a small envelope on the marble. It's worn, the paper soft with handling. Inside are bills, $10 total, mostly ones and fives. I don't have much, he says, but I'm putting it in the bank. Because if everyone takes out, then everyone loses. Someone has to show faith. Might as well be me. I process the deposit with hands that aren't quite steady. $10. Into an account that holds $37 total. It's nothing. It's a drop of water against a forest fire. It's everything. Thank you, sir. He nods once, tips his worn hat, and turns to leave. I watch him go, moving slowly through the banking floor that's nearly empty now, past the brass rails and marble columns, and all the architecture of confidence. The clock strikes 6. Morrison locks the door. The sound of the lock engaging echoes through the banking floor with a finality that makes my stomach clench. Morrison, 63 years old, 37 years of service, a man who takes pride in the small rituals of his position, turns the key with careful precision. The day is over, but it's not over. Mr. Pemberton descends from the mezzanine. His footsteps on the marble stairs are measured, deliberate, the walk of a man who has made a decision and will see it through. He reaches the banking floor and stands in the center, in the exact spot where the black and white marble tiles form a geometric pattern that might mean something or might just be decoration. Ladies and gentlemen, his voice is different now, quieter, more intimate, the voice of a man speaking to colleagues rather than customers. Thank you for your professionalism today. Your conduct has been exemplary in difficult circumstances. We stand at our stations, 6 tellers, 2 commercial desk clerks, Morrison at the door, Fisher emerging from the vault. 10 people who have just processed a day that will be remembered. Tomorrow, Mr. Pemberton continues, will likely be more challenging. I won't insult your intelligence by pretending otherwise. You've seen the numbers. You've seen the crowd outside. You know what's coming. He pauses. In the silence, I can hear the building settling, the slight creak of old wood, and the distant hiss of radiators starting up for the evening. The vault remains adequate for normal operations. We have been in communication with the Federal Reserve and with other institutions. Resources are available if needed. First National has weathered crises before and will weather this one. The words are good, strong, confident. But there's something in his eyes that contradicts them. Something that looks like a general reassuring troops before a battle he knows is lost. I would like each of you to balance your drawers and prepare your stations for tomorrow. Mr. Hutchinson, please see me in my office. The rest of you are dismissed at your completion. Again, thank you. He turns and climbs back to the mezzanine. Hutchinson follows, his green eyeshade still in place, his face unreadable. The rest of us begin the closing ritual. I return to Station 1 and begin the process I've performed hundreds of times, balancing my drawer. Every bill must be counted. Every coin must be tallied. Every transaction must be verified against the ledger. The numbers must match perfectly. Incoming cash plus deposits minus withdrawals must equal the drawer total. Any discrepancy, even a penny, must be found and explained and corrected. Usually this takes 15 minutes. Tonight it takes me 25, not because I'm careless, but because my hands shake slightly, and I have to recount twice to be sure. My ledger for the day tells a story in numbers and initials. AM transactions, 47. PM transactions, 63. Total processed, 110. Total withdrawal amount, $43,750. Total deposit amount, $2,410. Net, negative $41,340. I stare at those numbers. In a single day, through my window alone, $41,000 left the bank. Multiply that across 6 teller windows, add the commercial desk transactions, factor in the deposits that slowed to a trickle. The mathematics are brutal. But the drawer balances, every penny accounted for. The numbers match perfectly. I sign my ledger with careful script. Edward Whittaker, Junior Teller, Station 1, October 28, 1929. My initials in the confirmation box, EW. The marble counter has cooled again now that the sun has set. I press my palm against it one more time, feeling that familiar stone cold. It's the same marble that was here this morning, the same marble that will be here tomorrow, the same marble that was quarried in Vermont and installed with the promise of permanence. But permanence is just a word we use for things that haven't broken yet. Fisher and Morrison disappear into the vault. I can hear them through the open door, the rustle of paper, the clink of coin, the soft murmur of counting voices. They're doing the end-of-day reconciliation, verifying that the vault contents match the ledger, ensuring that every withdrawal has been properly documented. It takes them 40 minutes. Usually it takes 20. When they emerge, Fisher's face is carefully neutral. Morrison looks old suddenly, older than his 63 years. They don't say anything. They don't need to. Their faces tell me everything. The numbers are bad. Not catastrophic, not yet. But bad enough that tomorrow will matter. Bad enough that the crowd outside isn't wrong to gather. Hutchinson is still upstairs. Through the frosted glass of Mr. Pemberton's office, I can see two silhouettes in conversation. Their body language is tense. Pemberton standing, Hutchinson seated, both perfectly still in the way that indicates intense discussion. I finish my closing procedures, file my paperwork, cap my pen, straighten my station so it's perfect for tomorrow, blotter aligned, stamp in its holder, deposit slips fanned in their brass container. At 6:47, Hutchinson emerges. He descends the stairs slowly, holding the brass rail, looking at his feet. When he reaches the banking floor, he doesn't head for the employee exit. He comes to my station. Eddie. Hutch. We've never used the nickname before. In 2 years of working side by side, he's been Hutchinson and I've been Edward, or Mr. Whittaker in public. Eddie only in private. The use of Hutch now feels intimate, like we've crossed some threshold into territory where formality no longer matters. Pemberton wants me to come in at 6 tomorrow, before opening, count the vault again, prepare for high-volume transactions, coordinate with the commercial desk. That makes sense? He asked me. Hutchinson pauses, adjusts his eye shade even though he's about to take it off. He asked me how many days we could sustain this level of withdrawal if it continues. I wait. I told him 3, maybe 4. That's with normal reserve levels, normal deposit intake, normal operations. And if it's not normal? Then less. Could be 1 day. Could be tomorrow if everyone shows up at once. The mathematics are simple and terrible. If the crowd outside, thousands strong, growing by the hour, all demand their money simultaneously, the vault empties. The bank closes. First National, established 1847, solid and permanent and brass and marble confident, becomes another casualty of belief breaking down. Are you coming in early? Hutchinson asks. Do you need me to? I'd appreciate it. 6 a.m. We'll prep together. I'll be here. He nods, removes his eye shade finally, folds it carefully and tucks it into his vest pocket. Go home, Eddie. Get some rest if you can. You too. But neither of us moves. We stand there in the empty banking floor, surrounded by marble and brass and all the architecture of confidence, and we both know that rest is unlikely. Sleep is for people who believe tomorrow will be normal. Tomorrow will not be normal. I collect my coat from the small closet behind the teller line. It's October weight wool, purchased last year when I got my raise, still smelling faintly of the cedar chips Mrs. Kowalski insists on using in her storage closets. I button it carefully, adjust my hat, prepare to face the world outside. Morrison unlocks the employee exit, a side door that opens onto an alley rather than Broad Street. It's a security measure, a way for staff to come and go without navigating through customer crowds. Tonight, it feels like an escape route. Mr. Whittaker. Morrison's voice stops me as I reach the door. Yes, sir? In '07, during the financial crisis, I was already working here. Different manager then, Mr. Whitmore's son. The crowds gathered just like today. Maybe worse. The bank closed for 3 days. 3 days of locked doors and angry people and uncertainty. He pauses, his hand still on the doorknob. But we reopened. The reserves held. People got their money. Not all at once, not immediately, but eventually. The bank survived. That's good to hear, sir. I tell you this not because I'm certain we'll survive tomorrow. I tell you this because I'm not certain, and I want you to know it's survivable either way. The bank closing, I mean. Life continues. People continue. He opens the door. Cool October air rushes in, carrying the smell of the city, coal smoke and automobile exhaust, and something that might be rain coming. Thank you, Morrison. Go home, son. I step into the alley and the door closes behind me. Locks. The sound is final. The alley is narrow, dim, lined with the backsides of buildings that front onto Broad Street. There are garbage cans and loading docks, and the kinds of spaces that cities need but don't want visible. It's quiet here, removed from the crowd that still gathered on the main street. I can hear them, though. The murmur of thousands of voices creates a background hum that's almost physical, a vibration in the air. I can hear snippets of conversation echoing down the alley. Opened an account at 3 different banks, spread the risk. Brother-in-law works at Morgan's. He says it's bad, really bad. 1893 all over again, maybe worse. Wife wants me to withdraw everything, but where do you keep that much cash? I start walking toward the street, toward the subway that will take me back to the Bowery. The alley empties onto a side street that's less crowded than Broad, though still full of people moving with purpose, carrying bags and briefcases, heading home or heading somewhere, all of them doing calculations in their heads. At the corner, I stop and look back at the bank. From this angle, you can see the full facade, limestone and marble, 6 stories tall, with windows that glow warm yellow from the interior lights. The name is carved into the stone above the entrance. First National Bank, in letters 2 feet high, with the date established 1847 below in smaller script. 82 years. 3 generations of business. Thousands of accounts, millions of transactions, decades of careful accumulation of trust and capital and confidence. All of it depending on a simple agreement, that the numbers on paper mean something real, that the promise to return deposits is credible, that the system works because we all believe it works. And when we stop believing, I turn away and continue toward the subway. The subway entrance is a mouth in the sidewalk, stairs descending into the smell of brake dust and bodies, and the peculiar metallic scent of trains. I join the flow of humanity going down, down, into the underground where the marble is just tile, and nobody pretends it means anything. The platform is crowded with others fleeing the financial district. I recognize faces, clerks from other banks, runners from brokerage houses, secretaries whose lipstick has worn off and whose eyes look hollow. We're all part of the same ecosystem, all dependent on the same flows of capital and confidence. When the system shakes, we all feel it. The train arrives with a of brakes and a rush of warm air from the tunnel. I squeeze into a car already packed with humanity, grab a strap, and sway with the motion as we lurch forward into darkness. The man next to me clutches a briefcase to his chest like it contains something precious. Maybe it does. Maybe it's full of cash withdrawn from a bank that won't survive the week. Maybe it's full of stock certificates that are now worth a fraction of what they were on Friday. Maybe it's just papers, just documents, just proof that he existed before today. A woman across from me is crying quietly, tears running down her face while she stares at nothing. Nobody offers comfort. We're all too wrapped up in our own disasters, our own calculations, our own fears. The train rattles through the darkness. I watch stations pass: Wall Street, Fulton, Brooklyn Bridge. Each platform crowded with people waiting to board, to flee, to go somewhere that feels safer than where they are. At Canal Street, a man enters the car. "Papers! Get your papers! Market crashes again. Record losses." He's selling newspapers, waving them above his head, and people actually buy them, as if reading about disaster will somehow make it more comprehensible, more manageable, more survivable. I don't buy one. I was inside the disaster. I touched it with my own hands, counted it in bills and coins, watched it walk out the door in neat stacks and nervous hands. I exit at Bowery and climb back to street level. The neighborhood is different here, rougher, louder, full of the kind of people who don't have bank accounts to worry about because they never had bank accounts to begin with. There's a certain freedom in that, I think. When you have nothing, you can't lose anything. But that's not quite true. You can always lose hope. And hope might be the most valuable thing, the thing that makes working and saving and planning for tomorrow possible. My boarding house is 3 flights up in a building that tilts slightly to the left. Mrs. Kowalski owns it, a Polish widow who came to America in 1904 and worked her way from factory floors to property ownership through decades of ruthless saving. She's 62 years old, 4 feet 11 inches tall, and capable of terrorizing any tenant who's late on rent or disrespectful to her property. I respect her enormously. The lobby smells like cabbage and linseed oil and the particular mustiness of old buildings. Mrs. Kowalski is there when I enter, sitting in her chair by the radiator, knitting something that might be a scarf or might be a noose. She looks up as I come in. "Eddie." "Mrs. Kowalski, you look terrible." It was a long day. The market, yes? I hear things. People talking. Is bad? It's bad. She nods, continues knitting. In Poland, before I come here, there was no such thing as market crash. You know why? Because we had nothing. No money, no banks, no stocks. Just work and bread and trying not to die. Was it better? No. But was it simpler? You can't lose what you don't have. It's an echo of my thoughts on the subway, this idea that poverty might be a kind of protection. But I know it's not true. Poverty is its own disaster, slower but just as devastating. You'll be all right, Eddie. You're young. Young people survive things. Thank you, Mrs. Kowalski. Rent is due Friday. Don't forget. I won't forget. I climb 3 flights of stairs that creak under my weight. The building is old, pre-war, built when labor was cheap and standards were different. But it's solid. It hasn't fallen down yet. That's all you can really ask of a building. My room is on the 3rd floor, 3rd door on the left, room 3C. It's small, maybe 10 feet by 12, with a narrow bed, a dresser I bought secondhand, a desk by the window, and a closet that's more of a niche than an actual room. The bathroom is shared, down the hall, with plumbing that makes sounds like the building is dying. But it's mine. My name on the lease, my key in the door, my space in a city of millions. I unlock the door and step inside. Everything is exactly as I left it this morning. Bed made with hospital corners, desk neat with papers squared, photograph of my parents on the nightstand in a brass frame that's tarnished at the edges. The photograph was taken in 1920, 9 years ago, in front of our house in Pennsylvania. My father in his suit, my mother in her best dress, me between them at 13, all of us looking at the camera with expressions that suggest we believed in futures. My father works in a steel mill. My mother takes in sewing. They saved for 2 years to send me to New York, to give me opportunity, to let me escape the mill and the mines and the limited horizons of small-town Pennsylvania. I wonder what they would think if they could see me now. Would they be proud that I work in a bank, that I wear a collar and tie, that I handle thousands of dollars every day? Or would they see through that to the fear underneath, to the knowledge that everything I've built in 2 years could evaporate in 2 days? I sit at my desk. The radiator clanks to life, hissing and popping as steam fills the pipes. The window is open a crack. I always leave it open, preferring cold air to the stuffiness of a closed room. And through it I can hear the city. Horns and voices and the distant wail of a siren. The constant background noise of millions of people living in proximity, all of them with their own fears and hopes and disasters. I make a list in my head of what I need to do. First thing tomorrow morning, before my 6 a.m. shift, I'll withdraw $400. Leave enough to keep the account active. Banks often require minimum balances, but take enough to hold in my hands, to hide under my mattress or in a coffee can, or wherever people hide cash when they don't trust banks anymore. Then I'll work my shift, process other people's withdrawals with steady hands and a calm voice. I'll smile, like Mr. Pemberton said. I'll maintain the fiction that everything is fine, that the marble means permanence, that tomorrow will be better. Because maybe it will be. Maybe the fundamentals really are sound. Maybe the bankers meeting at Morgan's will find a solution, inject enough capital, restore enough confidence to stop the bleeding. Maybe. But I can't bet everything on maybe. Not anymore. Not after today. I think about calling my parents, telling them to check their savings at First Pennsylvania Bank, to move their money somewhere safer if such a place exists. But it's after 8 o'clock, and long-distance calls are expensive. And what would I say that wouldn't sound like panic? Mother, father, the financial system is collapsing and you should withdraw your life savings immediately. No, better to wait. One more day. If tomorrow is worse, if the mathematics get darker, if the vault empties further, if the crowd outside turns from vigil to mob, then I'll call. Then I'll warn them. Then I'll admit that the future I came to New York to build is crumbling. I take out a piece of paper and do the calculations I've been avoiding all day. Based on today's withdrawal rate across all windows, First National processed approximately $250,000 in withdrawals. Deposits were minimal, maybe $20,000 total. Net, negative $230,000. The vault, per the last quarterly report I saw, holds approximately $300,000 in cash reserves. That's standard for a bank our size, enough for normal fluctuations, enough to weather typical runs, enough to project confidence. But this isn't typical. If tomorrow matches today, 300,000 minus 230,000 equals 70,000 remaining. One more day of operations, maybe less. If tomorrow is worse, if the crowd outside descends on the bank at opening, if panic spreads, if everyone wants their money at once, the vault empties by noon. Maybe sooner. And then what? Then the bank closes. Temporarily, officially, with promises of reopening once reserves are replenished. But temporary can become permanent. Trust, once broken, doesn't repair easily. Accounts might be insured. I think there's some federal protection, though the details are unclear to me. But access is delayed. People wait. Bills go unpaid. Businesses fold. The dominoes fall. Or maybe the Federal Reserve intervenes. Maybe emergency capital arrives. Maybe the other banks in the city pool resources and prop up the weak ones. Maybe collective interest in preventing total collapse overcomes individual fear. Maybe. I fold the paper and tuck it away. The mathematics are brutal but simple. Everything depends on tomorrow. Everything depends on whether the crowd outside decides to trust or panic, to wait or rush, to believe or break. I stand at my window and look out at the Bowery. It's dark now, properly dark, with street lamps making pools of yellow light and shadows collecting in the spaces between. The neighborhood is loud. It's always loud, even at night, especially at night. Voices from the street, music from open windows, the clatter of elevated trains on tracks 2 blocks away. Normal sounds. The sounds of the city being itself, regardless of what happens in marble buildings downtown. There's something comforting in that continuity. Whatever happens to markets and banks and the careful structures of finance, the city endures. The trains keep running, the radiators keep clanking, Life continues in its small, insistent ways. I think about Mrs. Kowalski's words, "You're young. Young people survive things." Is that true? Or is it just something people say to make sense of catastrophe, to create meaning from chaos, to suggest that suffering has purpose? I don't know. I'm 22 years old, a junior teller at a bank that might not exist next week, holding a bank book that might be worthless paper and might be my entire future. I don't know anything except that tomorrow I have to go back. I have to stand at Station 1, press my palm against marble that no longer stays cool, and process the orderly dismantling of everything we thought was solid. Because that's my job. Because I need the $35 per week. Because someone has to show up. Someone has to maintain the fiction. Someone has to stand at the window and smile and say, "Thank you for banking with First National," even when the walls are crumbling. I lay out my clothes for tomorrow. The same clothes I wore today: white shirt, dark trousers, wool vest, tie that's conservative but not funereal. The uniform of respectability, of trust, of institutions that deserve confidence. I polish my shoes even though they don't need it. I brush my coat even though it's clean. I prepare myself the way soldiers must prepare before battle, through ritual, through routine, through the small actions that create the illusion of control. At 9 o'clock, I try to sleep. I lie down fully closed on top of the covers, staring at the ceiling, where shadows move as automobiles pass outside. The radiator clanks. The building settles. Somewhere down the hall, someone is arguing in a language I don't recognize. Sleep doesn't come. My mind won't quiet. It keeps running numbers, keeps seeing faces, keeps replaying the day in fragments. Mrs. Aldrich's gloves, the young bride's tears, the old man's $10 deposit, the growing crowd outside, the silent pneumatic tubes, Mr. Pemberton's shrinking signature, the vault with its visible gaps. At midnight, I give up. I sit at my desk and write a letter to my parents that I probably won't send. Dear Mother and Father, I hope this letter finds you well. Work at the bank has been busy lately. The market situation has created unusual activity. Please don't worry about me. I am fine. The bank is solid. I stop. Read what I've written. Cross out the last sentence. The bank is managing the situation. Better. Truthful without being alarming. I continue. If you have any concerns about your own savings, it might be prudent to keep some cash on hand. Not because anything is wrong, but because caution is wise during uncertain times. Perhaps withdraw a small amount, just to have available for immediate needs. I will call soon. Please take care of yourselves. Your loving son, Edward. I fold the letter but don't address an envelope. Maybe I'll send it tomorrow. Maybe the day will be fine and the letter will seem foolish. Maybe the day will be a disaster and the letter will seem inadequate. Maybe. At 2 a.m., unable to lie still any longer, I return to the window. The Bowery is quieter now, but not silent. There are still people on the streets, workers heading to night shifts, drunks staggering home from bars, the shadowy figures that populate every city after midnight. The elevated train rumbles past, lit windows full of late-night passengers going somewhere for reasons I can't imagine. I think about all of them. All the people in this city, millions of them, each with their own version of tomorrow morning, their own fears and hopes and calculations. How many of them have money in banks? How many are lying awake tonight doing the same mathematics I've been doing, trying to decide whether to trust or panic? And it's not just New York, it's everywhere. The newspapers said stocks are traded internationally now, that markets in London and Paris are connected to New York through telegraph wires and telephone lines and the instantaneous flow of information. When we fall, they fall. When confidence breaks here, it breaks everywhere. The thought is too big, too overwhelming. I'm a junior teller at one bank in one city, and I can barely comprehend what's happening on one banking floor. The idea that this is happening everywhere, to everyone, Simultaneously, it's beyond my scale of understanding. So I focus on what I can control. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., Station 1. Withdraw my $400, then take my place behind the marble counter and do my job. Help people, process transactions, maintain order. It's not much. It won't stop the panic or restore confidence or prevent the dominoes from falling. But it's something. It's showing up. It's standing at the window when standing is all that's left. I must have dozed at some point, because I wake with a start to the sound of the radiator's morning clank. Gray light filters through the window. I check my watch. 4:47 a.m., Tuesday morning, October 29th, 1929. I wash at the sink in my room, cold water, harsh soap, the routine of making myself presentable. I shave carefully, avoiding the temptation to rush, because rushing leads to cuts, and cuts lead to blood, and blood stains collars. I dress in the clothes I laid out, button my vest, knot my tie with practiced fingers. In the mirror above the dresser, I look normal. Tired, perhaps, but normal. A young man in respectable clothes, ready for a day of respectable work. The mirror doesn't show the fear beneath the vest, the calculations running endlessly through my mind, the knowledge that today might be the day everything breaks. That's fine. Mirrors don't need to show everything. Sometimes the surface is enough. I leave the room at 5:15. Mrs. Kowalski is already awake. I can smell coffee from her apartment on the first floor, can hear her radio playing quiet music. The building is mostly silent otherwise, most tenants still sleeping through the hour when the city is at its quietest. The streets are nearly empty, just delivery trucks making their rounds, a few early workers heading to factories or docks or markets. The elevated train platform has only a handful of people, all of us standing in separate pools of lamplight, not making eye contact. The train arrives. I board. We rattle downtown through the gray dawn. I exit at Wall Street at 5:43. The financial district is different at this hour, quieter, emptier, with buildings looming dark against the lightening sky. Most offices won't open for hours. Most workers won't arrive until 8 or 9. But I'm not most workers. Today I'm arriving at dawn to withdraw my savings before taking my place behind the counter where I'll help others do the same thing. The irony isn't lost on me. First National's facade is imposing in the pre-dawn light. The limestone glows faintly gray, the carved letters shadowed and deep. The bronze doors are still locked, but I can see light in some upper windows. Mr. Pemberton is already here. Hutchinson too, probably, doing the vault count we discussed. I stand on the steps for a moment, looking at Broad Street. The crowd from yesterday has dispersed overnight, but evidence remains. Discarded newspapers, a lost hat, the general trampled look of ground where many people stood for many hours. They'll be back. Soon. When the doors open at 9, they'll return, and they'll bring others, and the mathematics will accelerate toward their inevitable conclusion. But that's at 9. Right now, at 5:47 a.m. on Tuesday, October 29th, 1929, I'm alone on the steps of First National Bank, and I have 13 minutes before I need to be inside. And for this brief moment, I can pretend that everything is normal, that the marble will stay cool, that the fundamentals are sound. 13 minutes of pretending. Then I'll open the bronze door, step into the lobby where the chandeliers are already lit, approach Station 2 where Hutchinson is probably already counting, and quietly, professionally, without drama or panic, withdraw $400 from my account. Then I'll go to Station 1. I'll press my palm against the marble counter one more time. I'll arrange my stamp and deposit slips and withdrawal forms, and I'll wait for 9 o'clock, when the doors will open, and the crowd will enter, and the mathematics will continue their brutal progression toward conclusion. Because that's my job. Because I'm Edward Whittaker, 22 years old, junior teller, and showing up is all I know how to do. The clock in the church tower 2 blocks away, 6. I climb the steps and enter the bank. The bronze door is unlocked. I knew it would be. Hutchinson has a key. Morrison has a key. Mr. Pemberton lives close enough to arrive before dawn when necessary. I step into the lobby, and the familiar smell hits me. Marble dust and brass polish and old paper, and something else. Something new. Fear, maybe. Or just the staleness of air that's been breathed too many times by too many worried people. The chandeliers are lit, casting their warm glow across the banking floor. In the early morning dimness, with no customers and no noise, the space looks almost sacred, like a cathedral built to worship money instead of God, with marble columns instead of stone pillars and brass rails instead of altar gates. Hutchinson is at the vault. I can see him through the open steel door, his green eyeshade already in place, his hands moving through stacks of bills with that unconscious precision. He's counting, recounting, verifying that the numbers from last night still hold true this morning. Eddie, he doesn't look up. You're early. You said 6. I said 6 because I hoped you'd come at 6:30. Give me time to finish this count without an audience. I approach the vault entrance but don't go inside. There are rules about vault access, about who can enter when, about maintaining security even when, especially when, everything else is falling apart. How bad is it? Come back in 10 minutes. I'll tell you everything. I leave him to his counting and cross to Station 1. My station. The place I've stood for 2 years, 3 months, and 16 days. The marble counter is cool in the early morning, untouched by sun, holding the chill of the October night. I press my palm against it and feel that familiar cold. 10 minutes. I have 10 minutes before I need to know exactly how bad the numbers are. 10 minutes before I need to withdraw my $400 and become part of the problem I'm supposed to be solving. I arrange my station with unusual care. The stamp goes exactly parallel to the edge of the counter. The deposit slips fan out in perfect progression. The withdrawal forms stack with military precision. The blotter aligns with the brass grill. Everything neat, everything ordered, everything pretending that order matters when chaos is waiting outside. At 6:09, Mr. Pemberton descends from the mezzanine. He's wearing the same suit as yesterday. I'm almost certain of it, though it's hard to tell with men who own multiple identical suits. But there's something disheveled about him this morning, something that suggests he slept in his office or didn't sleep at all. His collar isn't quite straight. His tie is knotted slightly off-center. Small details, but on Mr. Pemberton they scream of disorder. Edward, good morning. Good morning, sir. You're here early. Mr. Hutchinson asked me to come at 6, sir. He nods slowly, like this information requires processing. Of course. Yes. We'll need all hands. He pauses, looks at me with eyes that are bloodshot and tired. Did you sleep? Not much, sir. Neither did I. Neither did Hutchinson. Neither did anyone with sense, I imagine. He laughs, but it's not a laugh that contains humor. It's the sound pressure makes when it escapes through a crack. Do you know what I did last night, Edward? I don't answer. The question seems rhetorical. I called every bank president I know. Called Lamont at Morgan's, called Reynolds at Continental, called Wiggins at Chase. Do you know what they all said? No, sir. They said the same thing I've been saying. The fundamentals are sound. The market is overcorrected. Confidence will return. Resources are available. He's speaking faster now, his voice rising slightly. They said it like they believed it, or maybe they said it like they needed to believe it. I'm not sure there's a difference anymore. Sir, the vault, Edward. Do you want to know about the vault? I do and I don't. Knowledge is power, but it's also weight, and I'm not sure how much more weight I can carry. But I nod because not knowing is worse. We processed 247,000 in net withdrawals yesterday. The vault held 310,000 at start of business. That leaves 63,000 in cash reserves. The number hits like a physical blow. 63,000. At yesterday's rate, That's less than 4 hours of operations. At an accelerated rate, which seems inevitable given the crowd that will form, that's 2 hours, maybe less. The Federal Reserve has promised emergency loans, Mr. Pemberton continues. Other banks have pledged support. There are mechanisms, systems, safeguards. The building won't collapse just because we run low on cash. But his voice says he doesn't believe it. His voice says he's reciting doctrine he memorized, but no longer trusts. I need to make a withdrawal, sir. He looks at me for a long moment. His face cycles through emotions: surprise, understanding, disappointment, resignation. Of course you do. How much? $400. Your entire savings. Most of it. And if every employee withdraws their savings this morning, before we open, what does that say about our confidence in the institution? It's not really a question. Or rather, it's a question with an obvious answer that neither of us wants to state. If the employees don't trust the bank, why should the customers? I'll leave $200 in my account, I hear myself say. As a show of faith. It's a compromise that satisfies no one. Not enough withdrawal to truly protect myself, not enough retention to truly demonstrate confidence. But Mr. Pemberton nods like I've made a wise decision, and I pretend I believe my own words. Station 2, he says. Hutchinson will process it. And Edward, thank you. For what? For staying? For coming early? For only withdrawing half my savings instead of all of them? I don't ask. I just crossed to Station 2 where Hutchinson has finished his count and is standing behind the marble counter like it's any other morning. 400, I say quietly. Hutchinson doesn't ask questions. He just pulls my account card, verifies the balance, $623.47, and begins counting out bills. 400s. He counts them twice, slides them across the marble. You should take it all, he says softly. Pemberton thinks. I know what Pemberton thinks. I was there last night when he made his calls, when he got his promises of support. Do you know what promises are worth in a panic? Hutch. Take it all, Eddie. I'm taking all of mine. So is Morrison. So is Fisher. The only question is whether we do it now or at lunchtime when the vault is even lower. I stare at the $400 on the marble. It's more cash than I've ever held that belonged to me. It's 2 months of salary, 5 months of savings, the accumulated weight of careful decisions and denied pleasures, and plans for a future that suddenly seems uncertain. I'll leave the 200, I say. If we all pull everything, what does that say? It says we're smart enough to see what's coming. But I shake my head. $200 stays. A gesture of faith, or stupidity, or maybe just the desperate hope that gestures still matter. I sign the withdrawal slip, fold the 4 bills carefully, and tuck them into my vest pocket next to my heart. They feel heavy, heavier than paper should feel. Your turn, I say. Hutchinson processes his own withdrawal. I don't watch how much he takes, don't want to know if he followed his own advice. Some things are private, even between colleagues who've worked side by side for 2 years. Morrison arrives at 6:30, Fisher at 6:45. The other tellers drift in early, Williams, Patterson, the new girl whose name I keep forgetting. We're all here before 7, all of us understanding without being told that today requires preparation, requires reinforcement, requires every available body behind the marble counters. And we all make withdrawals. One by one, quietly, almost shamefully, we approach the teller windows and withdraw portions of our savings. Not everyone takes everything, but everyone takes something. Even Morrison, who told me yesterday about surviving the panic of 1907, withdraws $1,000 from his retirement account. The vault count drops. Hutchinson keeps a running tally in his head. I can see him doing the arithmetic, his lips moving slightly with each transaction. By 7:15, when the last employee withdrawal is processed, we've removed another $18,000 from reserves. 45,000 left, maybe less. At 7:30, I go to the windows to look at Broad Street. The crowd is already forming. It's not like yesterday's gradual accumulation, people arriving throughout the day and clustering in small groups. This is purposeful, organized, dense. They must have been gathering since dawn, maybe before dawn, staking out positions, claiming spots near the door. There are hundreds already, maybe 1,000, with more arriving every minute. I recognize some faces from yesterday. Mrs. Chen is there, near the front, her husband beside her. The young bride in the worn coat, the businessman in the expensive suit. They came back. They got some of their money yesterday, but they want more, need more. Trust that yesterday's accessibility means today's will be the same. But there are new faces too, many new faces. People who heard about yesterday, who read the newspapers, who did their own mathematics and reached their own conclusions. The crowd has a different quality than yesterday, denser, more urgent, more afraid. A policeman is already present, then another, then 6 more. They're forming a line in front of the bank, creating a barrier between the crowd and the bronze doors. Officer Donnelly is among them. I recognize his build, his mustache. He's talking to someone in the crowd, his hands making calming gestures, but the body language is wrong. The crowd isn't calming, it's compressing, tightening, becoming something other than a collection of individuals. Jesus Christ, Fisher says beside me. He's come to look too, drawn by the same morbid fascination. There must be 2,000 people out there. More coming, I say. Look. He's right. The street is filling like a basin, people flowing in from side streets and subway exits and other banks that aren't opening yet, that won't open for hours. They're gathering here because First National opened early yesterday, processed withdrawals efficiently, proved that getting your money was possible if you just waited in line. Yesterday's competence has become today's liability. We can't handle this, Fisher says quietly. You know we can't. I know. Simple arithmetic. 2,000 people. Average withdrawal of $400. That's $800,000 walking out the door. We have $45,000 in the vault. Even if the Federal Reserve sends emergency funds, even if the other banks provide support, even if every mechanism and system and safeguard activates perfectly, there's not enough. Not nearly enough. Pemberton's calling for armored car delivery, Fisher continues. Emergency funds from the Fed. Should be here by 10, he says. Should be. Yeah, should be. We stand at the window, watching the crowd grow, watching the police line hold, watching the dawn light turn from gray to gold as the sun rises somewhere beyond the buildings. It's going to be a beautiful day. Clear sky, warm for October. The kind of weather that makes you grateful to be alive. Inside the bank, Hutchinson is dividing the remaining vault cash between teller stations, giving each of us a starting drawer that's larger than usual, prepared for high volume, for rapid processing, for the mathematics of panic. Mr. Pemberton is on the telephone in his office, his voice carrying through the frosted glass. I need confirmation on that delivery time. Yes, I understand, but understand that I have 2,000 people outside my doors. No, not an exaggeration. 2,000 minimum. Morrison is checking the locks on the bronze doors, testing them, verifying they'll hold when the pressure comes. He's 73 years old, and he's preparing for riot duty. And I'm standing at the window, watching disaster gather, knowing that in 90 minutes, I'll take my place at Station 1 and smile and process transactions and pretend that everything is fine, that the fundamentals are sound, that the marble means something. At 8:15, Mr. Pemberton calls us to the center of the banking floor. We gather in a loose circle, 10 employees, ranging from Morrison at 63 to Sally Brennan, the new girl, who's 19 and looks terrified. We're all terrified, actually, but the rest of us have learned to wear our terror under layers of professional competence. Mr. Pemberton stands in the exact center of the marble checkerboard pattern. His collar is still crooked, his tie still off-center, but his voice is strong. This is what he does well: project authority, create confidence through pure force of will. You've all seen the crowd, he begins. I won't insult you by pretending it's normal or manageable or anything other than what it is. A bank run. Perhaps the largest this institution has ever faced. He pauses, looks at each of us in turn. Emergency funds are en route from the Federal Reserve. An armored car is expected at 10 a.m. with $200,000 in cash. Additional support has been pledged by Morgans and Chase. We have resources. We have backing. We have the full faith and credit of the Federal Reserve System behind us. It sounds good. It sounds confident. It sounds like a speech designed to rally troops before battle. However, he continues, and the however carries weight, we must manage the situation carefully until those funds arrive. We will open at 9 as scheduled. We will process withdrawals in an orderly fashion. We will maintain professional composure regardless of customer behavior. And we will, this is crucial, we will slow the processing time. Hutchinson's head snaps up. Slow it, sir? Each transaction should take 5 minutes minimum. Count carefully. Recount. Verify signatures thoroughly. Check account numbers twice. Use every legitimate procedure to extend the time. We need to bridge the gap until 10 o'clock. The mathematics are obvious. Slow processing means fewer withdrawals per hour, means the vault lasts longer, means we might actually survive until the armored car arrives. It's a reasonable strategy. It's also a gamble, because slowing down might cause a riot outside. Impatient crowds do dangerous things. Is that legal, sir? Sally asks. Her voice is small, nervous. Deliberately slowing service? We're not refusing service, Miss Brennan. We're being thorough. There's a difference. Mr. Pemberton's voice is sharp. Any other questions? What if the armored car doesn't arrive? I hear myself ask. The silence that follows is profound. Every person in the circle is thinking the same thing, has been thinking it since dawn, but saying it out loud makes it real, makes it a possibility that requires planning. Then we close the doors, Mr. Pemberton says quietly. We inform customers that we're temporarily unable to process further transactions. We refer them to other institutions. He trails off, unable or unwilling to complete the thought. Because we all know what happens then. Temporary closure becomes permanent closure. First National Bank, established 1847, solid and permanent and marble confident, joins the growing list of institutions that couldn't survive the panic. Our jobs disappear. Our customers' accounts freeze. The dominoes fall. The armored car will arrive, Mr. Pemberton says, louder now, more certain. The Federal Reserve understands the situation. They won't let a major institution fail. We just need to hold until 10 o'clock. 2 hours. Can we do that? We nod. We say yes. We agree because disagreement isn't an option, because our paychecks depend on it, because the alternative is walking away and letting it all collapse without us. Stations, everyone. We open in 40 minutes. I return to Station 1 and complete my setup. Every deposit slip perfectly aligned. Every form stacked with precision. The stamp inked and ready. My drawer filled with bills, more than usual, thousands of dollars in mixed denominations, enough to process dozens of transactions before needing vault access. The clock reads 8:47. Through the windows, the crowd has grown beyond counting. The entire block is packed with people, with more streaming in from every direction. The police line has reinforced. I count 20 officers now, maybe more, forming a human barrier between the bronze doors and the pressure building behind them. Someone in the crowd is shouting. I can't hear the words through the thick glass, but I can see the gestures, the anger, the fear manifesting as aggression. Others take up the shout. It's not quite a chant, not organized enough for that, but it's becoming something. A collective voice, a mob finding its tongue. Hutchinson catches my eye. His face is pale, set, determined. He's removed his green eyeshade, too informal for what's coming. We all look professional, pressed, ready, like competent banking is armor against chaos. Morrison is at the bronze doors, key in hand, waiting for Pemberton's signal. Fisher and Williams are at their stations. Sally Brennan looks like she might be sick. The clock reads 8:52. I press my palm against the marble counter one more time. It's already warming in the morning sun, already losing its chill. Even stone surrenders to heat. Even permanence is temporary if you wait long enough. 8:55. Mr. Pemberton descends from the mezzanine. He's changed his tie. This one is perfectly knotted, perfectly centered. He's fixed his collar. He's put on his armor, too, wrapped himself in professional competence and institutional authority. He crosses to Morrison at the door. 8:58. The crowd has gone quiet. They know what's about to happen. They're poised, ready, waiting for the lock to turn and the doors to open and the race to begin. 8:59. Pemberton nods to Morrison. Morrison turns the key. The crowd surges forward. The bronze doors swing inward, and the flood begins. It's not orderly. Despite the police line, despite Morrison's attempts to direct traffic, despite shouted instructions about forming a queue, the crowd presses forward with the force of water breaking through a dam. People push, shove, fight for position. A woman stumbles and is caught by the man behind her. Someone's hat falls and is trampled. The noise is immediate and overwhelming. Voices, demands, the scuffle of hundreds of feet on marble. The police try to control the flow, but they're overwhelmed. Officer Donnelly is shouting about one at a time, about orderly lines, but his voice is drowned in the roar. The crowd doesn't want order. The crowd wants money. Now, before it's too late. They form lines at the teller windows, rough, pushed, argued over lines that are more like compressed masses than queues. My station fills immediately with people pressing against the brass rail, voices calling out account numbers and withdrawal amounts before they're even at the counter. Please, I call out, trying to project calm authority. One at a time. I'll help everyone, but please form an orderly line. The first customer reaches my window. It's a man I don't recognize, middle-aged, sweating despite the cool morning, his collar undone and his tie askew. He slaps a bank book on the marble so hard it makes a crack like a gunshot. I want it all, now, every penny. Of course, sir. May I have your account number? It's right there, in the book. I open the bank book. Account 9,247. I pull the corresponding card from my drawer. My hands are shaking slightly, I notice, though my voice remains steady. The balance is $1,200. I'll need to verify your signature, sir. If you could sign here. I'll sign whatever you want, just give me my money. He scrawls a signature on the withdrawal slip. I compare it to the signature card. It's close enough, though rushed. According to protocol, I should verify it more carefully, should perhaps call a manager for large withdrawals. But the man is shaking, and behind him, the line stretches back into a crowd that's getting more agitated by the second, and Pemberton said to process transactions. I count out $1,200. 1200s. We're using large denominations wherever possible, conserving smaller bills. I count once, twice, slide the money across. Thank you for banking. But he's already grabbing the cash and turning away, pushing through the crowd toward the exit. The whole transaction took maybe 90 seconds. Too fast. Pemberton said 5 minutes minimum. I need to slow down. The next customer is already at my window. Mrs. Patterson. I know her, she's a regular, saves religiously every month. Her face is pale, her eyes wide. Eddie, I need to take out 500. Of course, Mrs. Patterson. Let me just pull your account card. I move deliberately slowly. Open the drawer, search through the cards, alphabetically organized. P section, Patterson. There. I pull it out, examine it carefully, place it on the counter, check the balance. Count out the withdrawal slip forms, select one, position it precisely in front of her. If you could fill this out completely, please. Account number, date, amount, signature. Can't you fill it out? You know my account. Bank policy, ma'am. Customer must complete the withdrawal form personally. It's true. It's protocol. But it's also buying time. Mrs. Patterson fills out the form with shaking hands, her penmanship worse than usual. I examine it carefully, compare signatures, nod slowly like I'm verifying something important. That all appears to be in order. $500, you said? Yes, please. I counted out. 500s. Count again. Recount. Verify the amount aloud. $500. Please verify the count, Mrs. Patterson. She counts it quickly, nods, starts to turn away. Mrs. Patterson, I need you to initial here, confirming receipt. She comes back, initials the slip, then finally leaves. Total transaction time, 4 minutes, maybe a bit more. Still not 5 minutes, but closer. But there's a problem. The line behind her hasn't moved. It's grown, and the crowd is getting louder, more agitated. People are checking watches, calculating wait times, realizing that at this rate, it will take hours to reach the front. By 9:30, I've processed 11 transactions. 11 withdrawals totaling $14,000. My drawer is getting low. I'll need to visit the vault soon. Across the banking floor, Hutchinson is processing at a similar pace. So is Fisher, Williams. Sally Brennan is crying between transactions but still working, still counting bills with shaking hands. The crowd inside the bank has packed itself into every available space. People line the walls, crowd around the columns, press against the brass rails. The noise is constant, a roar of voices, demands, arguments, fears made audible. Someone is arguing with Morrison about cutting in line. Someone else is accusing Sally of counting wrong. The temperature has risen from all the bodies, turning the elegant banking floor into a hot, pressing, panic-filled space. Through the windows, I can see that the crowd outside hasn't diminished. If anything, it's larger. People are waiting for their turn to get inside, waiting hours for the chance to wait hours more at a teller window. My 12th customer is a young man who wants to close his account entirely. $87. I process it slowly, carefully, but he's impatient. Can you please hurry? I've been waiting an hour already. I'm being as quick as I can while maintaining accuracy, sir. You wouldn't want me to make an error with your money. I'd like you to just give me my money. His voice rises at the end, anger breaking through fear. Behind him, the line mutters agreement. They're all thinking it. We're too slow, too careful, deliberately obstructing. They're starting to understand that the bank is stalling. I understand your frustration, sir. Just a moment more. I finish the transaction. The young man snatches the cash and pushes toward the exit. The line surges forward, the next customer already pressing against the marble before I'm ready. At 9:47, my drawer is nearly empty. I hold up a hand to the next customer. I need to replenish my cash. Please wait just a moment. How long is a moment? 5 minutes, sir. The groaned displeasure ripples through the line. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes added to the hour they've already waited, to the hours they waited outside. The crowd's patience, already stretched thin, is approaching its breaking point. I signal to Hutchinson, I need vault access. He nods, leaves his station, and together we walk toward the vault through a crowd that parts reluctantly, faces hostile, eyes calculating whether they should just rush the vault themselves and take what they need. The vault is nearly empty. I see it the moment Hutchinson opens the door. The shelves that were full yesterday, that were adequately stocked this morning, are now showing bare wood. A few stacks of bills remain, 10s and 20s mostly, the smaller denominations we've been avoiding. The 100s are gone. The 50s nearly gone. Jesus, I whisper. Yeah, Hutchinson's voice is flat. We've got maybe 20,000 left, 25 at most. It's not even 10 yet. The armored car hasn't arrived. Pemberton's been calling every 15 minutes. They keep saying it's coming, it's on the way. There's traffic, there are delays. The mathematics are simple and brutal. $20,000 divided by 6 teller stations equals roughly $3,000 per station. At current withdrawal rates, that's maybe 6 or 7 more transactions per teller. 40 transactions total across the whole bank. There are at least 500 people still in line, maybe more. What do we do? I ask. We keep going. Process what we can. Hope the armored car arrives before we hit zero. Hutchinson starts pulling bills from the remaining stacks, dividing them between us. Take what you need for your next few transactions. Make them last. I gather roughly $3,000 in mixed denominations. It feels light in my hands, insufficient, a temporary measure against an unstoppable force. We return to our stations through a crowd that's grown more agitated in our brief absence. Someone shouts, "What's taking so long?" Someone else, "Are they running out?" The rumor spreads like fire. The bank is running out of cash. The vault is empty. If you don't get to the front soon, you'll get nothing. The crowd presses harder against the brass rails. At 10:03, 3 minutes after the armored car was supposed to arrive, a man in an expensive suit pushes to the front of my line. "I've been waiting since 7 this morning," his voice carries across the banking floor. "I demand immediate service." "Sir, I'm helping customers in the order they arrived. If you'll please return to your place in line." "To hell with the line. Do you know who I am?" I don't, and I don't care. But before I can respond, the man he cut in front of, a working-class guy in a worn jacket, grabs his shoulder. "Get back in line like everyone else." The well-dressed man shoves him. "Don't touch me." The working man shoves back, harder. The well-dressed man stumbles, catches himself on the brass rail, then launches himself at his attacker. They grapple, fall, roll across the marble floor. Others scramble back, giving them space, or press forward, picking sides, joining in. Morrison and 2 police officers rush over, pull the men apart. But the damage is done. The fight has released something in the crowd, the thin veneer of civilization that was holding panic in check. More voices rise, more shoving. The line dissolves into a pushing mass. Mr. Pemberton appears on the mezzanine, his voice booming. "Order! We will have order or we will close these doors." The threat of closure works. The crowd settles slightly, people returning to rough approximations of lines. The fighters are escorted outside by police, but the tension remains, crackling like electricity, waiting for the next spark. I return to my station and process the next withdrawal. My hands are shaking now, visibly. The customer, an elderly woman who reminds me of Mrs. Aldrich, notices. "Are you all right, young man?" "Yes, ma'am. Just a long morning." "Is there enough? In the vault?" It's the question everyone is thinking, but few are asking directly. I look at her face, weathered, kind, genuinely concerned, and I can't lie. "I don't know, ma'am. I honestly don't know." She pats my hand where it rests on the marble. "You're doing your best. That's all anyone can ask." She takes her $200 and leaves, and I feel tears prick at my eyes for the first time today. I blink them back. I can't cry. Not here. Not now. Crying is for later, for when this is over, for when I can lock myself in my room and let the weight of the day crush me in private. At 10:17, a sound cuts through the roar of the crowd. A horn. Deep, loud, insistent. Through the windows I see it, an armored car, pushing slowly through the packed street, police clearing a path. The crowd parts reluctantly, people pressing against buildings to make room. The car pulls up directly in front of the bank, and 2 armed guards emerge. A cheer goes up from inside the bank. People crane to see, hope spreading through the crowd like sunlight breaking through clouds. The armored car means money, means the bank can continue, means everyone will get their withdrawals after all. Mr. Pemberton practically runs down the mezzanine stairs. He meets the guards at the door, speaks quickly, gestures toward the vault. They nod, return to the truck, and begin unloading. Metal boxes, heavy, multiple trips. The guards carry them through the crowd, which parts respectfully, almost reverently. and disappear into the vault with Morrison and Hutchinson assisting. It takes 15 minutes to unload everything. 15 minutes during which the crowd waits in suspended anticipation, during which hope and fear balance on a knife edge. Finally, Mr. Pemberton climbs halfway up the mezzanine stairs so everyone can see him. His voice rings out. "Ladies and gentlemen, First National has received emergency reserves from the Federal Reserve. We have more than sufficient funds to honor all withdrawal requests. Please maintain orderly lines, and we will serve everyone." Another cheer, relief flooding the room like a physical force. The tension doesn't disappear. There are still too many people, too little space, too much fear. But it lessens. The immediate crisis has been averted. Hutchinson emerges from the vault with fresh stacks of bills. He distributes them to each teller station, thick bundles of hundreds and fifties and twenties, enough to process dozens more transactions. My drawer fills again. I have resources. I have time. I process the next customer with hands that have stopped shaking. The rest of the morning bleeds into afternoon. Transaction after transaction, withdrawal after withdrawal, the slow, steady drain of accounts and vault and faith. But it's manageable now. Difficult, exhausting, nerve-wracking, but manageable. The armored car brought enough, barely, but enough, to handle the crowd. We process withdrawals at a sustainable pace, no longer needing to stall, no longer counting down to zero with each transaction. The crowd begins to thin, not quickly, not dramatically, but steadily. People get their money and leave, relief on their faces, cash clutched tight. The replacements are fewer now. Most of those desperate enough to wait hours have already been served. By noon, the lines are long but no longer impossible. By 1, they're merely frustrating. By 2, almost normal. I take no lunch break. None of us do. We work straight through, processing the endless stream of fear made transactional. At 2:30, I process my 100th transaction of the day, a round number that feels significant even though it's arbitrary. 100 withdrawals, roughly $60,000 through my window alone. Multiply that by 6 tellers, add the commercial desk. Millions of dollars have walked out of First National today. Millions more will walk out tomorrow, and the day after, and however long this panic lasts. But we're still standing. The doors are still open. The marble is still cool, or getting cool again, as the afternoon shadows lengthen and the crowd's body heat dissipates. We survived. At 3 o'clock, Mr. Chen arrives. He looks exhausted. His usual careful posture is bent, his movements slow. He's been standing outside for hours, I realize, waiting in the crowd, waiting for his turn, finally getting inside. But he's not carrying a withdrawal slip. He's carrying a deposit bag. "Mr. Chen." My voice breaks slightly on his name. "Eddie." He smiles, tired but genuine. "Long day, yes?" "Very long, sir." He places the deposit bag on the marble. It's small, lighter than usual. $217, Monday and Tuesday morning. Not much. People buying, but also people scared. Some stores closed. But we stay open. We keep working. I process the deposit with something approaching reverence. In a day of withdrawals, hundreds of them, thousands across the whole bank, this single deposit feels like a benediction. Like proof that not everyone is abandoning ship, that some people still have faith, that the system might survive if enough people refuse to let it die. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Thank you, Eddie. You work hard today. You look tired. I am tired, sir. You go home soon. Rest. Tomorrow you come back, you work hard again. This is how we survive. We keep working, we keep trying. We don't give up. He leaves, and I watch him navigate through the thinning crowd. An old man who survived worse things in China, who built a business from nothing, who understands that giving up is the only guaranteed way to lose. I press my palm against the marble. It's cooling now in the afternoon shadows. The stone remembering what it is, solid, permanent, indifferent to human panic. At 6 o'clock, Morrison locks the doors. The banking floor is nearly empty, just employees and a handful of customers finishing final transactions. The roar of the crowd has faded to silence. The pressure has lifted, replaced by exhaustion so profound it feels like gravity has doubled. Mr. Pemberton doesn't make a speech this time. He just nods to us, a gesture of acknowledgement and gratitude, then returns to his office to do whatever managers do after days like this. Calculate losses, probably. Make calls. Prepare for tomorrow. We balance our drawers in silence. Even Hutchinson has nothing to say. We're beyond words, beyond analysis, beyond anything except the mechanical process of accounting for every penny. My final count for the day, 143 transactions, $71,340 in withdrawals, $217 in deposits. Net, negative $71,123. I sign my ledger. Edward Whittaker, Junior Teller, Station 1, October 29th, 1929. Black Tuesday, the day the bottom fell out. The day the panic became undeniable, unavoidable, real. But we survived it. First National survived. The doors will open tomorrow. The marble will still be here. The system, battered and depleted and barely functional, will continue. For now. I arrive at 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning expecting crowds, expecting chaos, expecting another day of pressure and panic, and the slow, grinding drain of vault and faith. But Broad Street is quiet. Not empty. There are people, maybe 50 or 60, waiting for the doors to open. But compared to yesterday's thousands, it feels like a whisper. Like the storm has passed and left only scattered remnants. I climb the steps and enter through the employee entrance. Morrison is already there, looking older than his 63 years, but he nods greeting. Inside, the banking floor is pristine. Someone cleaned overnight, polished the brass, swept the marble. Removing the evidence of chaos, restoring the illusion of order. Hutchinson is at his station, arranging his drawer. He looks up when I enter. Quiet out there, I say. Everyone who was desperate got their money yesterday. Everyone else? He shrugs. Either they're trusting the bank, or they've moved their accounts elsewhere. We'll see. We open at 9 o'clock. The 50 people enter orderly, form actual lines, wait patiently. The transactions are normal, some withdrawals, yes, but also deposits. People paying bills, making transfers, conducting ordinary banking business. The panic has burned itself out, or shifted elsewhere, or simply exhausted the supply of desperate people. I process transactions with steady hands and a calm voice. The mathematics are manageable. The vault, replenished by yesterday's armored car and stabilized by reduced demand, holds steady. We're not thriving, but we're functioning. By noon, the banking floor is nearly empty. A handful of customers, normal midday traffic, nothing remarkable. Mr. Pemberton descends from the mezzanine and surveys his domain, marble and brass and order restored. He looks satisfied. Tired, but satisfied. At 1 o'clock, he calls me to his office. Edward, please, sit. I sit in the leather chair across from his desk. It's the first time I've sat in this chair. Usually when I'm summoned, I stand. But today he gestures to it, waits for me to settle, then sits himself. You did well, he says. Monday and Tuesday. You maintained composure under extraordinary circumstances. Thank you, sir. I wanted to thank you personally, and to discuss your future with First National. My future. The phrase hangs in the air, ambiguous. Is he offering a promotion, or preparing to fire me for withdrawing my savings? We're going to need to reduce staff, he continues, answering the unspoken question. Not immediately, but soon. The bank has lost significant deposits. Our operating costs need to adjust accordingly. I wanted you to hear this from me directly. I understand, sir. You're not being let go, Edward. You're talented, reliable, and you showed leadership when it mattered. But others, Miss Brennan will be let go at the end of the week. Patterson is being offered early retirement. The commercial desk is reducing from 2 positions to 1. He pauses, looks at me directly. I'm telling you this because you deserve to know what's happening, and because I want to offer you something. Sir? In 6 months, assuming we stabilize, there will be an opening for assistant manager. I'd like you to prepare for that position. It would mean more responsibility, better pay, and a real future with this institution. 6 months, assuming we stabilize. So many assumptions built into that offer. The bank surviving, the economy recovering, the panic ending rather than spreading. All of it predicated on hope and fundamentals and the collective agreement to keep believing. I'm honored, sir. Thank you. Think about it. You don't need to answer now. Take some time. Consider your options. You're young, Eddie. You have opportunities beyond this bank, beyond this crisis. Whatever you decide, I'll understand. He stands, extends his hand. I shake it. His grip is firm, confident. The grip of a man who survived a panic and still believes in tomorrow. I leave his office and return to the banking floor, to Station 1, to the marble counter that's cool in the afternoon shadows. The rest of Wednesday is quiet, almost eerily so. I process maybe 30 transactions total, fewer than I usually handle in an hour on Monday or Tuesday. The banking floor never fills, never roars with voices, never presses with bodies and heat and fear. It's peaceful. It's also sad, because the quiet means people have withdrawn their accounts, moved their money elsewhere, lost faith in First National's permanence. We survived the panic, but we're wounded, depleted, functioning but diminished. At 4 o'clock, Mrs. Chen comes in, alone this time without her husband. She approaches my window with a small deposit bag. Eddie, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mrs. Chen. How can I help you? She places the deposit bag on the marble. $400, Tuesday and Wednesday. Business is better today. People came back to the store. They still need food. They still need to eat. I process the deposit, count the bills, mixed denominations, smelling of paper and produce and normalcy. $400 into an account that had $6,000, then $4,000 after Monday's withdrawal. Now $4,400 again. Small movements up and down, but movement nonetheless. Life continuing. Thank you, Mrs. Chen. Eddie. She looks at me seriously. You stay here? At bank? Yes, ma'am. I'm staying. Good. Good boy. Bank needs good people. People who stay when is hard, not just when is easy. You stay, you show faith. Maybe others stay too. Maybe bank survives. I hope so, ma'am. Hope is good, but work is better. You keep working, I keep working, we all keep working. This is how we survive. She leaves, and I watch her go. This small elderly woman who understands survival better than anyone else I know. Who knows that you endure by continuing, by showing up, by refusing to quit even when quitting seems rational. The marble is cool beneath my palm. Solid. Permanent. Or at least as permanent as anything gets in this world of paper and promises and collective belief. At 5:47, 13 minutes before closing, my last customer of the day approaches. It's the old man from Monday evening, the one who made the $10 deposit when everyone else was withdrawing, who talked about the panic of 1893, who said this was worse. Hello, son. Hello, sir. Good to see you again. He smiles, weathered face creasing with lines that speak of decades of experiences I can't imagine. Still here, I see. Still here, sir. Good. Good for you. He places a small envelope on the marble. Another deposit. $15 this time. Found some work, fixed some things, earned a bit. I process the deposit. $15 into an account that holds 57 total. Nothing. A rounding error in the millions that flowed through this bank over the past 3 days. But somehow it feels like everything. You didn't have to come back, sir. After Monday, after everything that happened, you could have taken your money out like everyone else. Could have. Didn't want to. He leans against the marble, settling in like he has time to talk. You know what I learned in '93? When the banks crashed and businesses failed and everyone said the world was ending? What's that, sir? That the world doesn't end. It changes, it hurts, people suffer, but it doesn't end. And the people who survive are the ones who keep showing up, who keep doing their jobs, who keep having faith even when faith seems foolish. He taps the marble with one gnarled finger. This stone will be here tomorrow, and you'll be here tomorrow, and I'll be here tomorrow. We'll all keep showing up until things get better, because that's all we can do. That's all anyone can do. What if things don't get better, sir? Then we keep showing up anyway, because giving up guarantees losing. Keeping trying at least gives us a chance. He pushes off from the counter, tips his worn hat. You take care, son. See you next Monday. See you Monday, sir. He walks away through the nearly empty banking floor, past the brass rails and marble columns and all the architecture of confidence. An old man who's seen worse, survived worse, and still believes in depositing $15 in a bank that almost died 3 days ago. I watch him go. Then I look down at my station, the stamp perfectly parallel, the forms perfectly stacked, the blotter perfectly aligned. Everything in its place, everything ordered, everything ready for tomorrow. The clock strikes 6. Morrison locks the doors. The day is over. I arrive at 8:30 on Thursday morning, my normal time, not the crisis hours of Monday and Tuesday. Broad Street is quiet, normal. People walking to work, automobiles navigating traffic. The ordinary flow of a city that survived Tuesday and continued into Wednesday and is now facing Thursday with something approaching normalcy. First National's bronze doors are closed, but will open at 9. The windows are clean, the brass polished, the limestone facade showing no evidence of the thousands who pressed against it 3 days ago. Buildings don't scar easily. Stone doesn't remember panic. I climb the steps and use my key to enter through the employee entrance. Inside, the banking floor is perfect, marble gleaming, chandeliers lit, everything positioned exactly as it should be. Mr. Morrison is at his post. Hutchinson is at Station 2, Fisher at the commercial desk, Williams and the others at their stations. But Sally Brennan's station is empty. She was let go yesterday afternoon, given 2 weeks' pay and a letter of recommendation. The first casualty of the bank's necessary adjustments, but surely not the last. I cross to Station 1, my station, the place I've stood for 2 years, 3 months, and 19 days now. I arrange my stamp and forms and deposit slips with practiced precision. Everything in its place, everything ready. At 8:55, Mr. Pemberton descends from the mezzanine. He doesn't make a speech, just nods to Morrison, who nods back. At 9 o'clock exactly, Morrison unlocks the bronze doors. A few customers enter, maybe a dozen. They form polite lines, wait patiently, conduct normal banking business. Deposits and withdrawals and transfers and payments. The ordinary transactions of ordinary people living ordinary lives. My first customer is a young woman opening a savings account. She's nervous. This is clearly her first account, her first step into the world of banking and financial responsibility. She has $23 to deposit. Welcome to First National, I say, and I mean it. I process the deposit carefully, explaining each step, making her feel confident in her decision to trust us with her money. When I hand her the new bank book with her name inscribed and her $23 balance recorded, she smiles like I've given her something precious. Which I have, in a way. I've given her entry into the system, into the collective agreement that numbers on paper mean something real, that banks can be trusted, that the future is worth planning for. Maybe she's foolish to believe that after this week. Or maybe she's wise. Maybe faith is foolish and wise at the same time, paradoxical and necessary, and the only thing that makes any of this work. The marble is cool beneath my palm. The morning sun streams through the eastern windows, warming the banking floor, turning the brass fixtures gold. Everything is clean, ordered, proper, ready for whatever comes next. I press my palm flat against the counter and feel that familiar stone cold. It's the same marble that was here Monday morning when the panic began. The same marble that will be here years from now, long after I'm gone, long after everyone who lived through this week is gone. Permanence is just a word we use for things that haven't broken yet. But some things, marble, stone, the stubborn human refusal to quit even when reason says we should, some things are permanent enough. I'm Edward Whittaker. I'm 22 years old. I'm a junior teller at First National Bank on Broad Street, and I survived Black Tuesday. And tomorrow, Friday, October 30th, 1929, I'll show up again. Because showing up is all I know how to do. Because the marble stays cool, no matter what happens outside. Because someone has to stand at the window and smile and say, "Thank you for banking with First National," even when the walls are crumbling, especially then. The next customer approaches my window. "Good morning," I say. "How can I help you today?" And the work continues.